Welcome back to the Get to Know podcast, the podcast where, as the title suggests, we get to know someone every single week. Today, we have a very special guest. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a big fan of this guy's content. You may know him from his Kind Chronicles series or Mighty Mondays, with a channel of over 500,000 subscribers and over 66 million total views on his channel. Kugo the Mighty. Hello, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. It's a very nice late morning over here in rainy Seattle, and it is cloudy and rainy. Actually, not unlike where you're at right now.
Yeah, it's not too bad. It's not too bad here, but
it was a very gentle switch from living in the UK coming back to Seattle. I'll tell you that much.
I was going to get into that a little bit later. When were you in the UK?
Ooh, I was living in the UK from 2012 to about 2015, or about 3 years or so.
Yeah, because you've had a bit of a history of moving around a bunch of places.
Yes, I've been called Kugo the Mover before. It probably won't be the last time I get called that. That's for sure. I do like to jump around.
Yeah, is there any reason for that, or?
Is there any reason for me moving a lot? Ooh, this is already a really good interview. You're already coming out of the gate with the strong questions. For me, the moving, let's see. I mean, I've moved around. I think at its core, it was because I grew up in the middle of nowhere. And I always had big dreams and aspirations, and I didn't want to end up just being one of those townies that just stayed in my small little town. I grew up in New Hampshire, which is a small little state that nobody ever thinks about. And I always loved the big cities and going on trips to places. And so I developed this fascination with traveling the world, new places, cities, people, things. And so I think half of it is that. And then half of it is I always get given opportunities to go to different places, or I meet people and move to different places. And I'm very much one of those people who I like to take most opportunities that come to me that make sense and that I feel like are a good opportunity to expand and grow as a person and to have a little bit of an adventure. The UK was a long time ago, and it's because a lot of my hardcore fans know I used to be married. So at the time, I was married to a British girl, and then after that, it was like after being married for so long, man, it was like I was free to go do whatever I wanted. So now I was like, oh man, I could go move over here. And then recently, during all the pandemic and stuff, I got really cooped up and just burnt out and frustrated. And I just took a trip to Mexico, man. And I was there for maybe like 2 months, maybe 2.5 months. And that was a fantastic experience as well. But yeah, landed back here in Seattle. That being said, I'm by no means like wandering or a nomad on purpose. And also, I always come back to Seattle every time. Every like 2 or 3 years, I move back to Seattle. And I think at this point, maybe I've kind of discovered that Seattle really does feel like even though I didn't grow up here, it does feel like my home. So it's definitely my home base now. And whether or not I move away temporarily or not, I think I'll always want to come back, or maybe eventually get a house here someday, because the PNW is a great spot.
Well, so you've covered a few things that I wanted to talk about, but you mentioned a little bit earlier about the pandemic, and I've been interested to sort of find out what that's been like for everyone, because everyone's had a different experience. So, and especially with you being from the US, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not too sure like what's going on there at the minute. So it's completely different to here. So what's kind of the last like 12 months been like?
Yeah, for me, awesome, fantastic. This whole quarantine last year thing has It's definitely made a lot of people suffer, and it's broke a lot of people for sure. For me, I decided it was going to kind of break me in a good way. And I think at the beginning of all of this mess happening, I just decided that very simple, life was getting really crazy. Life is too short. You never know what's going to happen. So I just started tackling a whole bunch of stuff that I've wanted to do. And it's actually been one of the reasons why I haven't been quite as active on YouTube and Twitch over the last year, is because I've used this quarantine, this COVID thing, to start chasing and tackling a lot of dreams and aspirations and things that I've always wanted to do that I had every availability to do during quarantine or during this whole pandemic. And I've just been getting after it and using all of this energy, this whether it's frustration or fear or anger or sadness about what's going on in the world. Not to mention, there's just been a lot of stuff going on in the world on top of the pandemic over the last year that's been kind of intense, especially here in the United States. And it's so I can't lie. Actually, the pandemic's been going great for me because it's been letting me just say F it on a lot of things and chase after a lot of stuff. I began doing voice acting. I started a little voice acting career. I've been prepping for a bodybuilding show in the fall. I've been working with a coach to get even more into fitness than I was before, which has been super exciting. And I've been starting little other YouTube channels on the side without really advertising them too much, just as a for fun thing, and just tackling a lot of fun projects using this time during this pandemic. Luckily, I think I'm not sure if I ever actually caught it or not. I've had 2 COVID tests. They've both come back negative, but who knows? I mean, I'm sure like you, I was pretty terrified in the beginning of everything happening. I mean, it was pretty scary, not really knowing what was going to happen with the world and getting sick and everything. But I think now, as we know more, you can tell, not just in the media, but even on YouTube with people doing vlogs and whatnot, it's definitely relaxed a bunch where people are a little bit more at ease. There's enough information to say there's not, especially with young, healthy people, there's not quite as much danger for your mortality as it was in the beginning, where everything was kind of a mystery. But pandemic has been not that it hasn't been a struggle at all. I think everybody has realized a lot about themselves during this last year or year and a half. And as far as the United States goes, it's kind of different depending on what area of the United States you're in. Here in the PNW, it's a very progressive place, and it's there's a lot of young people, and there's a lot of smart, sort of techie people that live here. So obviously more people here are going to be taking precautions seriously than, say, Deep South or New York City or California, Los Angeles or something like that, where it's going to be a little bit more loose. Yeah. So here it's getting a lot better very quickly, but who's to say? Vaccines and stuff are rolling out, and hopefully things regulate quickly.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see. I think that as the year goes on, everything will slowly turn back to normality, or I hope.
Yeah, and the UK's pretty bad still too, right? Aren't you guys back on double, quadruple lockdown or whatever?
Yeah, so there's an announcement today, but pretty much we're in lockdown at the minute up until about the end of March, and then they're starting to slowly open stuff up.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's not been great.
Yeah. I can't imagine that, because one of the best parts about the UK is that everyone unanimously agrees that everything is shit. But the thing is you kind of the part of the British culture is that everybody agrees everything is shit, but you kind of bond over it.
Yeah.
And it becomes like everybody realizes that everything is shit, but that's okay. And you go to the pub and you do your thing and you hang out. But if you remove being able to see all other people and you still think everything is shit, it's
And
actually
it's
way
just-
more shit, isn't it?
Yeah, yes. That's pretty much exactly everyone's mentality at the minute. So, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I remember it all too well.
Okay, so you mentioned a little bit a second ago, and I wanted to talk to you about the second channel, The Mighty Dungeon, because you've been uploading on there quite frequently recently. So
Yeah.
is that more of like a passion project, or?
Yeah, it is. I actually have 4 channels, and the Mighty Dungeon is our Dungeons and Dragons channel. It's a D&D channel. Dungeons and Dragons is a huge passion of mine, and it has become even more into the forefront during the whole pandemic thing, because it's a great way to escape. You can tell some great funny stories, some amazing moments, and that channel has been so much fun to work on, albeit not being very like monetarily worth it, like business wise worth it from somebody that does a lot of content and stuff for, you know, for a job, because it is a smaller channel. And we for those who don't know, we take our D&D games, which are mostly silly. They're not these serious sort of, we're gonna nerdily reenact like the Lord of the Rings. It's more of like, what would it be like if we were a group of adventurers, but 2 of us were just chefs, like just normal chefs with silly accents, and we just, anything that the story told us to do, we just said no and broke the game and just be ridiculous. That's the sort of stuff that we do. And then we have, in the beginning days, we had the stories animated by like a really good cartoonist, but we lost that cartoonist maybe about a year and a half ago. So then when we realized that none of us could draw or do animations or anything like that, and it was either we figure out how to do it or we hire someone, that stuff costs a lot of money to hire somebody to do like 10 to 20 minute cartoon animations is a lot. So we started using this other more 3D software to tell the stories, and recently one of our players has started to draw and include more animations into our channel, into the stories, which has been really nice to see. The 3D and 2D elements of those animations are really fun to watch, especially me, who was there when it happened. It's still fun to watch and look back on. So yeah, definitely passion project. Definitely something I do and you know, pay to help people animate and edit, just so that I can have that there as a really nice memory, and so that other people can enjoy it too.
Yeah, well, I think, because how you say it's a passion project, and it's not necessarily like monetary wise the best thing. I think from an outsider's perspective, I think it's quite good for you to sort of have that outlet, because obviously your niche is somewhat CSGO on the main channel. So I think if you're not necessarily feeling CSGO anymore, it's quite nice to have that sort of outlet of difference.
Yeah. And especially like lately, because I've stopped doing quite as much CSGO, and I actually don't really like, I would love to still do a CSGO video from time to time with some of my CSGO buddies, like do a collab or something. But the fact of the matter is, this happens with a lot of creators, is you start doing one thing and a couple things happen. You're right. Either you get burnt out and bored of what the game or subject matter that you're doing it in. The topic that you're doing it in stops becoming as popular. Or you just run out of ideas, which is very possible. Which is another thing we could talk about later too. Is another thing that I came to the realization about, and what's kind of makes me happy and sad about like the series, the Kind Chronicles series that I did for many years. Sometimes like weekly at one point. It was nuts. Is that you can also get to a point where you just feel like you've done it all. And it's nuts to say that, but you can it really does get to a point where it's bittersweet, because you feel like you really can't pull anything new out of it without it feeling like it's repeating. But also it feels kind of good, because whatever mark I left on that period of YouTube or CSGO or just the people that it reached at the time, from when I started Kind Chronicles to, when I felt like it's kind of run its course, that makes me happy, because I have sort of like completed that mission. Because when I started out to do that series, it was like I wanted to play a toxic game and be this happy guy that tries to be friends with everyone and see how they react to it. And I feel like I feel accomplished about that at the same time that I'm bummed that it is burnt out a little bit. And then as far as just like getting burnt out on stuff and having other outlets, the other channels help a lot too. But especially for some content creators, especially me, sometimes that cannot be a good thing too. Because if you're passionate about a lot of stuff and you start making a lot of outlets, then you start to not have time for like the main thing, right? It's like, it's very fun and easy to be like, I'm getting into this right now. I want to make a channel. I want to make content. I want to stream this, or I want to do this, or I want to get into this. And then all of a sudden you have like 10 small projects, and you simply just don't care about the main project anymore because it's not what you're excited about in the moment. And a lot of channels can do this, which is very cool. Where you'll see a lot of channels, sometimes they're able to just kind of do whatever they want all the time, and they don't even really have to think about what they're doing. They just kind of like put out whatever, and it really works. But you have to be careful with that stuff with the YouTube algorithm, because unless your numbers are very like consistent, your upload schedule is consistent, your views are consistent, if it notices a break in a trend, it will definitely kill it 100%. So it's really tough. A lot of streamers deal with this too, where they want to take breaks, they want to have another outlet, they want to make do something else creatively, and it can be scary, because it definitely affects sort of the business side and the momentum of your work, which sucks, because every streamer that I know and YouTuber puts in a lot of work on the things that they do. And it's a bit like having a job where you go to your boss, right? You have a normal ass job. You go to your boss, you're like, hey, how did I do this week? And your boss says, I don't know, let's look. You did okay on this day. You did a really good job on this day. I don't know what happened on this day. It's not so good. What'd you do? 40 hours this week? Okay, well, I'm going to pay you this much. And then you're like, okay, I guess I'll take that much money, even though you're supposed to get paid like a certain amount of money every week. Yeah. And then you come in the next week and you're like, yeah, you didn't do a good job this week. I'm only going to pay you like $10 for your 40 hours this week. And then you're like, but why? Why did I do a bad job? And your boss is just like, I don't know. I have no idea. Come back next week and try again. That's kind of like how being a YouTuber is sometimes. It's like going to a boss being like, here's $10. And you're like, but I worked 100 hours on this. And they're like, I don't know why it's bad, but it's bad. Try again.
Yeah. I was going to get into it a bit later. Well, but we'll talk about it now, how it's a fair comment probably to say that your relationship with YouTube has been a bit up and down, because like even I remember I think it might have been a year or two ago, and you spoke about how the algorithm was just that bad within your channel that you even debated starting a new channel just to get it
Yeah.
fresh on the algorithm. So
I'm
what was
still
that?
thinking about doing that. I'm not sure yet. I'm still thinking about it. Um, because you really, I think it really is a matter of it's really tough to say actually, because my channel is so old. My channel I started in 2000 and it's got to be 6 years
7 years.
old.
Yeah, 7
7
years.
years old. Um, when I started that channel, I was doing guitar guitar covers, music videos, and then got into like let's plays and then took huge breaks and then did all this series and then funny moments and then all this other crazy stuff. My channel is so old and YouTube has so much data and stuff on it that it's really hard to say whether or not I could make another video that would uh like get a ton of hits, go viral, whatever, and have that sort of like reinvigorate the channel because I've actually done that a few times. And it's one of those things too where like I know that I can create some pretty good content and I know that if I just keep uploading stuff, eventually one of them will go
Yeah.
viral again. But if that will translate to just consistent views to videos after that or not, I'm really not sure on my current channel if that would even work or not. Most recently was probably like the VR video I did where I wore a touch suit that has like almost a million views now. That
Yeah.
happened and I was like, cool, I'm really enjoying this. Like this, whatever I'm doing in VR is really fun right now. So this was getting a ton of views. And so I said, bam, I'm going to do another VR video right after because it's hot right now. And the next VR video I did got like garbage views. So I was like, okay, that's how this works then. So then I started going back to like doing things here and there, whatever I felt like doing at the time. And it's really hard to tell, especially when you already have a big subscriber base. And YouTube expects for you to get X amount of numbers. And then if it sees that you're not getting X amount of numbers, then a big bulk of your subscribers don't even get the video. And then I don't know if you also remember recently there was this big thing about using the community tab to like boost and spike algorithm
Yeah.
use where you go like ask a poll or question or something. And then I realized something is that it sounds like a really good theory, but what I realized is the only people that see the polls in the community tab are also people that engage with your content frequently. So it's kind of like just the same people that are going to get the videos anyway are seeing the community tab. Or I'm just not asking good enough questions. I don't know. It's very possible. But YouTube is one of the only jobs I've ever had where you keep learning. Not only you keep learning about it, you have to keep learning about it. You don't
Yeah.
really have a choice. You have to keep learning about YouTube. You can't just like stagnate and do the same old for years and years because she be changing. She be changing a lot. So you're catching me kind of at a really good time for an interview because right now I'm still figuring it out. Like I don't have it figured out. We're still figuring it out on a lot of fronts.
It's a tough thing. I mean, I upload quite a lot of clips of my YouTube to TikTok, and I've experienced a similar thing where it's the exact same. Like you get a couple hit down, and then that's it. Like your account's done and out. So it's just the algorithms of social media. It's a tough game. It really is.
What I think is like the absolute fact is, as Gino pokes his head in the shot, what I think is an absolute fact is that you have to really be doing something you love to do being authentic
Mm.
and doing it at an adequate quality level consistently.
Mm.
I don't think that there are many ways to game the system other than that. I
Yeah.
think that that's the best way to quote unquote game the system, is to have those qualities and to just do them consistently. In my opinion, from my experiences,
Yeah.
I don't think there's a better algorithm jumper than ticking all those boxes.
Yeah. So you say that it's something you've got to do, something that you love and that you're passionate about. So are
Because
you
people can
still?
tell.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
True. So are you still? Do you still enjoy playing the CS:GO? Because you still do the Carlin Chronicles and things like that.
Not as much as I used to. In fact, you caught me at a really, really good time because I recently took on an editor. I've been looking for editors I've been in and out of editors for years and years and years. And it's crazy because you really, for YouTube videos that are gaming but are also comedy, you know, if they're not frag movies, if they have more to do with being funny, you really have to have a special kind of eye for that, for comedy and for the video games that you're playing. And I had maybe like one or two good editors in the last 4 or 5 years that have really matched or done better than what I could do. And one of those editors turned out to be McNasty. Do you know who that is?
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember maybe like 3 years ago or so. Maybe 3 years ago. Yeah. I remember telling him, like, your editing skills are really good. And then he showed me like the concept, I think, of his box guy idea. And I was like, yep, you shouldn't even be editing for me. You should go like just start on your own stuff. You'll be successful in no time. Branding's really good. Editing's really good. Like, go do it, man. And then sure enough, look at him. He's fucking blasting off. It's great.
Yeah.
But recently took on another editor, and it's the first time. The reason why I know my current editor is really a really good fit for me is I sent a CSGO video to him, and a day later he messaged me back and said, "This isn't really that good." He just flat out told me, "Are you sure you want to edit this? It's really not that good. This footage is really not that funny or good." And I watched it over with him, and I was like, you know what? You're kind of right. And I looked at the footage, and I was like bored. And it's when I kind of had that realization, that like wake up moment of like, holy crap. I really shouldn't just be putting out content for the sake of putting out content, because that never sat with me well anyway. My best videos and biggest videos are never like, in my opinion, my favorite videos of mine are never like funny moments CSGO number 39. It's always one with like a bigger concept or a bigger idea, like the VR touch suit video, or I don't know, a long time ago I did like first time Rust player and first time CSGO player, ones that had like kind of some acting elements, or it had a theme to it. It wasn't just like a funny moment, regular old video. Even some of my vlogs on my main channel that I did back when I was touring around and doing like the CSGO events, some of those vlogs are some of my favorite videos ever too. You really, as a YouTuber, some people are okay with like just churning out content, and it's their business, and they enjoy it that way. The key word is like they still enjoy it, even if they're like just churning out content. But some creators, I think I fall into this category, are much more satisfied when I spend time and effort on an idea that creates like a really good memory. Like the video on the channel is like this very good memory to look back on. Those videos end up being my favorite ones in hindsight.
So we touched on it a little bit earlier, about how you started YouTube 7 years ago. I kind of want to know Why did you start? What was the inspiration behind it?
Yeah, easy. So I was watching a lot of other YouTube channels, and I was going through, I think everybody goes through this, where I was just going through a tough time. It was very simple and logical. I they The way they made me feel when I was going through a tough time, I wanted to be able to provide that for other people as well. It was that simple. They helped me out so much by just giving me like an escape.
So, you are a gaming-based channel. Do you still enjoy games? Have you got like favorite games at the minute? Are you moving
Yeah.
more to VR? What kind of things are you playing at the minute?
I haven't played VR in a little while. I'm going to start playing VR again very, very soon. But games, yeah, I still play. I still love games. Still play games all the time. In my free time, well, I have a new addiction. I have a really bad new addiction, but I think consistently my favorite game across the board, a lot of my free time, I love playing Rocket League. One of the only games that I've ever been good at. It's like, playing CSGO for so many years, and it's like I'm just always the Gold Nova champion. And no matter how good I think I am, I never seem to climb higher than that, and it's just impossible. But with Rocket League, there was a good 4 seasons in a row where I was consistently getting to Grand Champion, which is like it's like global basically.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, it's not anymore, but it used to be like the top tier percentage of players. I prefer to like play games where the game revolves mostly around interacting with other people, talking, social stuff, rather than like just jumping into a video game and trying to get frags for a half an hour and getting really excited when you're winning and then getting really angry and yelling when you're losing. It's a cycle, a YouTuber cycle that I don't care to be a part of. Where the content is just like, oh my god, so epic, I'm so awesome, and then like, oh, what the heck, man, I can't believe he camped me, blah blah blah. Like that whole like stereotype of like just an exaggerated excited to angry rage sort of gamer humor is not interesting to me. It's very two-dimensional. Whereas I tend to like videos that are more like, RP videos, RP trolling, and things where people are talking to people, whether it's a group of people that know each other or interacting with strangers. Those are the types of channels and in gaming videos that I enjoy to watch. So those are more of the games that I like to play as well.
So you sort of touched on it just then, talking about
I'm reading your mind.
YouTubers. So, are there any YouTubers at the minute that you watch? Do you watch a lot of YouTubers, or?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do watch a lot of YouTubers. I'm on YouTube like most of the day actually, because from the time that I have my breakfast to the time that I go to like the gym during the day, I'm watching like YouTube channels that are like workout motivation or bodybuilding videos or podcasts. I use YouTube for like for a purpose. It's always for a purpose. It's never I try not to watch YouTube to like kill time. It's always to either motivate me or to excite me or to entertain me if I'm, or for research to see what other people are doing so that like it can inspire me to make videos a certain way. But as far as like specific YouTube channels, I watch a lot of food channels and vlog channels too while I'm eating. I tend to watch a lot of YouTube when I'm eating. I think it's because I'm eating a lot recently. Just because I've been going to the gym so often, I'm prepping for the show in the fall. My food consumption, my protein consumption has gone up so tremendously that it's actually hard. I don't have a big appetite, so it's actually hard. The hardest part is for me the eating. So I'll watch YouTube food shows to like be like, yeah, that looks delicious, while I'm like eating plain chicken for like an hour trying to force it down. But as far as YouTube channels, I watch such a wide range of stuff. and I've been in the YouTube game for so long, and I've made so many connections, and I have so many like acquaintances in the space that it's hard to even just keep up with people's content that like are people that I know, because you just can't. If you did that, you'd never be able to do anything yourself. But I watch everything from food channels, from like Mikey Chen to Mark Wiens, very popular food vlog people. I mean, I still watch lore channels on MMOs because I'm not always playing an MMO like WoW or Guild Wars always has a place in my heart too. A lot of people don't know that I got my start on the internet doing a podcast about Guild Wars. That's where I learned how to like speak to a microphone. So I had this podcast about Guild Wars 2, and it's where I had my first stroke of people actually listening to something that I was putting on the internet. It was wild. So I still have a place in my heart for that. I mean, I also watch lots of, bodybuilding YouTubers like Fuad, Abiyad, and I used to watch Rich Piana, who was a big, he was like the meme lord channel of fitness for a long time before he died. I still watch a lot of his videos. I watch music. And then for like gaming, like I still enjoy me a good, I don't know if you know who Daniel is. Do you know him?
I don't think so.
Okay, I'll have to turn you on to him sometime. He does like these trolling videos that are really, really dry. It's like dry humor trolling videos that are really funny.
Yeah.
And then, I'll still try to catch some of my buddies like Wellen. I'll try to catch some of his Rust videos. And then, once in a while, I'll pop in to see what's going on in CSGO. I'll pop in and check out what War Owl is doing on his channel. I'm looking at my sub feed right now, and it's so eclectic and so all over the place that you'd really have to give me like a category, and I could tell you people that I watch in that category, because it's all here. Every facet of life I've found. That's what I think is beautiful about YouTube, is that you can find everything you've ever been interested in life. You can find one or two channels that scratch that itch for you. Yeah. And not everybody, it's not like, usually it's not a one size fits all where one creator is just the best at this whole topic. Everyone can find their own favorite creator or source of this thing that they enjoy or that they really like, which I think is really special about YouTube. It's just a shame that all these YouTube channels I've subscribed to, I haven't seen videos from them for a long time because of the algorithm. Yeah. It's like, it's not just me that it's hurting. It's like, I'm looking through here and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm subbed to this person. I wonder how they're doing. And I go to their channel. There's like 10 new videos. I'm like, oh my God. Yeah. Why didn't I see these? It sucks.
It's just the YouTube, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
Okay, well, talking about other channels and things like that, I want to talk a little bit about your friendship with Kryoz and Minilad and how that came about.
Ooh, shoot. That's gonna get a little interesting, that conversation. So yeah, that was nuts. So this was also during a time when I was really still pumping out content like crazy. And let's see what happened. I'm trying to think of where to start on this. So I don't even think I played many games with John. I hope he doesn't mind me just using his first name, because we lived together for a while. It's hard to, I didn't want to call him Kryoz, like it's so awkward. John, oh man, my burger buddy. We were a burger crew, man. We would jump in the car and always go get burgers all the time. So anyway, I didn't even think I played many video games with John before reaching out to him, because I heard through a friend of a friend that there was a couple people who were moving soon or had a desire to move out to like the Portland, Oregon area, which is not far from Seattle. It's three or so hours south of here, and just got in like a group chat and was like, well, I'm also trying to move out of Seattle for the time being, because I had moved to Seattle for about a year, and a lot of crap happened that year. So the year that I moved to Seattle was the same year that I both had to deal with a divorce, which sucked, and obviously has like monetary complications that come along with that. And it was the same exact time that CSGO skin sites got taken down.
Yeah.
That whole market got shut down in the same space. So it was a crazy time for me, because I moved to like my dream city, and then had to shell out a bunch of, shell out some money for taking care of legal stuff. And then all the sponsors dried up for CSGO, like out of nowhere. And so I spent a year in Seattle, and then I was like, I can't. It's funny. I'm like, I'm back here. But at the time I was like, I can't live here anymore, because it's just too expensive. So I think I reached out to John and Jay, who was the other person that was living in the house. And I asked them, like, do you have any interest in moving out to Seattle? And they expressed interest in the general area, but not as much interested in moving to like downtown. Because like I'm a city guy. I love it where I can walk everywhere. I love seeing the people. I love the noises. I love the busyness. All that stuff is great to me. So they were more interested in trying to move out to somewhere with more space, more quiet. And so we ended up all going down to see a house near Portland, and just outside of Portland. And we decided to all just like move into this house. And so we went from like not really knowing each other that well to living with each other very quickly. And I think I became kind of like the dad of the house very, very, very quickly, because I was just coming out of, man, I hadn't had roommates in like 10 years at that point. It was wild to go back to roommates in a house. It was like living in the dorms again in college. It was crazy. But I do have fond memories of living in that house. And it was very interesting to see how other YouTubers lived their lives, because you don't get to see that normally, do you? You see the videos, but you don't get to really see what they do on a day-to-day basis. Turns out a lot of it is like coming out of the room to go to the bathroom, get food, or watch anime. That's kind of like the three things that YouTubers do: go to the bathroom, eat food, and watch anime. But yeah, we had some really good times, like listening to music. I had a lot of fun like cooking for them. John Kryoz is responsible for my cooking obsession, because he turned me on to an anime called Food Wars. And I had not been into anime before that at all, but he turned me onto that show, and I'm not gonna lie, that show changed my life, man. I'm like, I'm so much more into cooking now than I ever have, and super passionate about it. It's all because of that one anime he showed me. And it was a pretty surreal experience. It was pretty fun. However, it was not the city. It was very quiet. Those two are also very they're definitely more, I would say, on the introverted side. John especially is a little bit more outgoing, a little bit more talkative, but in that house, very hard for me to feel like I wasn't talking their ears off all the time, because I'm very extroverted. I'm very like, I need like, hey, what's going on? What are you doing? Hey. So we did have some good times, but I was definitely craving more like busyness and more like stuff to do and more life. We lived in a very sleepy little town. And then I think the next thing that happened is I ended up meeting my next girlfriend at the time, who was living in Florida. And then there was like kind of like I visited a couple times, and there was a decision like it was kind of like a decision of, do you want to come live with me in a gamer house full of 3 nerdy dudes, or do I move down there? And I ended up just moving down to Florida for a while, and that was sort of my Florida era. But just going back to touching on, John and Kryoz, that was definitely a good experience. I learned a lot from them and how they operate, and just from them as people, getting to know them more as people was really nice. And then the only reason I really knew Craig was because while I was in that, at the time, he had a house in that area as well. And it was right as he was moving in, and so there was like, a bunch of YouTubers, we would go over for like parties or just to hang out or whatever. There was a long period of time where Craig couldn't drive in the United States, so I was going to pick him up, and we would go to the gym a lot. I remember me and Craig would go to the gym like 3 or 4 days a week for a while, and so it was pretty crazy to like hear about all the stuff that happened to him after, because it's always different. It's always different when, like I said before, when you know somebody behind the videos. Yeah. It makes things a little more complicated and a little bit more real when you get to know somebody behind the videos, as opposed to if you just know them for their public figure. And then something crazy happens to them or some drama happens. It gives you a way different perspective. But I lived with John, but I just, I was I wouldn't say I was good friends with Craig, but I definitely at the time was a friend of Craig's. But after I moved away, there was no effort to stay in touch, so it really wasn't anything more than that.
All right. Okay, so lastly, I kind of want to move away from the gaming and everything like that, because that's one side of you, and another huge side is the fitness and everything like that. So I kind of want to know...
favorite subject. Here we go. I'm excited. Why'd you leave this for last? We're gonna be talking for 2 hours.
I want to know, sort of, have you always been like that with fitness? Has it always been a passion?
No.
So when did you start?
I've always casually gone to the gym. It started maybe when I was like 21, so more than 10 years ago. And it all started with my younger brother went off to the military. He went off to join the army. And when he came back after a year, after his first leave, he was a tiny little boy. And then when he came back from the military, he got huge. He got massive. And I was so upset that my little brother was bigger than I was that I started going to the gym just to work out and to be more muscly and mostly just to look more like the characters from Dragon Ball Z. That was pretty much it. Was my aspiration, was like, I want to look like a character from Dragon Ball Z, but in real life. That'd be awesome. And so I casually worked out for like the next 10 years. Now I'm really lucky, and people always tell me or ask me about like, how do you have big biceps? Like, you must train your biceps all the time. The truth of the matter is, I just have good genetics. I don't train my arms like at all, like ever. Like once a month, I'll do an arm workout now. It's crazy. But I only started getting into, all right, how can I make this, how can I do this at the most extreme level possible? How can I go from just being like this casual gym goer that has like, looks like he kind of works out? How do I go get to the athlete level of doing the thing that I love to do? How do I push myself to the maximum potential of what I can do? How can I do the absolute best? That was maybe last summer during COVID and quarantine is when I said, F it. I'm either going to let myself go or I'm going to let this turn me into a monster in a good way. And so that's when I started training for the purpose of like transforming myself into like the crazy cartoon character of myself that I had in my head. And then it also culminated into this time where sometime over the fall, a coach at the gym asked me, "Hey, do you compete? Cause like you look like you compete." I was like, "No, that's silly." He's like, "Well, if you did like a natural, drug tested competition, you'd probably do pretty well." And as soon as he said that, can I swear on this show? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. I was fucked, man. As soon as he said like, you have potential, I was fucked, because I'm that kind of person where if I'm enjoying something and then someone like validates me on it, I'm like, uh-oh, this is my thing now. Y'all are screwed now because I'm putting my maximum effort into it. And so then maybe like 3 months later, I hired him on as my coach for prep for this show. And I went from being like casual gym goer guy, keep a little bit of my physique for just to do my YouTube outros, to gonna try to do this competition in the fall, first ever competition, and I'm gonna try to just win. Like, I'm not even doing it just to do it, to get my feet wet. I'm going in, and me and my coach are like, I'm going in to win the first show I ever do. I'm gonna go win. And then I'd technically become a professional bodybuilder, which would be kind of crazy to go from like just deciding in the middle of quarantine that like I just want to work hard and do something that's difficult to keep my mind off of everything, to becoming a professional at it. Would be insane. It would be such a highlight of my life, and it's something that I think I realize is doable. So yeah, just 200 or so more days of prep, working hard every day. It's a lot of working out, a lot of eating.
I was going to ask after that, what does sort of like day to day, week to week look like with the training?
So right now I've backed off a little bit because we still have 200 days left. So I'm technically in off season. Trying to put on a little bit of weight. There's no need to be like shredded or ripped right now, even though, Instagram is the thing and there's a lot of pressure to be like, look how ripped I am right now, but you really can't do that and gain a lot of muscle at the same time. So I've backed off. I'm currently on a 5-day split. Well, not split. It's technically a 3-day split, but I do 3 workout days and then a rest day. 3 workout days and then a rest day. That's my normal split right now. I do push-pull legs. Everybody, knows that. If you don't know what that is, Google it. Push-pull legs. And every day I eat the same stuff. It's pretty boring. Some days I eat all the stuff I need to eat, and then I eat more food that I want, or snacks that I want. But as far as food that I need to eat, every day it's I have 2 whole eggs, 5 egg whites. I have a bagel. I eat 2 meals a day that are basically a half pound of lean meat and vegetables. I have a cup of rice, and before I have 2 shakes, one after my workout, one before I go to bed, and then also before I go to bed, I ate 2 Eggo waffles. And that's the Kugo diet right now. That's pretty much that's all. It's right around 2,000 calories. It's probably like 170 to 180 grams of protein, moderate carbs, a cup of rice, a bagel, and 2 waffles, a couple 100 grams of carbs, 300 grams of carbs, minimal fat's pretty minimal. I use a little bit of olive oil when I cook. Other than that, pretty simple.
Yeah. I mean,
That's it. It's pretty boring, man. Like, I gotta be
yeah, I
honest.
was
Like
gonna
every
say.
day, it's like eggs, bagel, and it just goes in. It's just I'm in machine mode. But on top of that, like if I ever want to have like some, like the other day, I had a whole box of cereal on top of my diet, and it was because when I went to the gym, I was still looking like very lean, and so that's kind of a signal that my body can handle more. Like maybe I'm burning more than I should be, so I'm like putting more in.
Yeah.
But it's a very fun science experiment. You know, a lot of people think like working out or bodybuilding is all about like vanity, but really I think a lot of people that do it don't see their, like, I don't even see my body as my person, like as myself. It's more, I think my body's more just like a science experiment that I'm working on. I'm like detached from it. Like it's not really me. It's just this thing I'm working on. I think you have to have that kind of mentality in order to do and be analytical and do the best job and make adjustments that you can, so that you don't get caught in anything like body dysmorphia, where like you just start seeing your body differently than what it actually is, and then you start making decisions based on emotion rather than like fact, which is another hard part about working out and diet and fitness and all that.
Yeah. So, lastly, with all the health and fitness and everything like that, last question on that. I want to ask, so I'm not really a massive gym person. I've tried a couple times and I always seem to just fall out of it after a couple of weeks. So do you have any advice for anybody trying to just get into it and get motivated and just getting started with it?
Yeah, so I have this conversation every day on my Instagram. Somebody DMs me pretty much every day and says, how do you have motivation to do this? And I am in the camp with all the other sort of motivational speakers out there who will tell you that motivation actually doesn't exist. That there's actually this thing about motivation is this weird man-made concept that has almost no practical value. Because motivation is fleeting. It will not be there for you when you need it. And it's like a paraphrased quote from a motivational speaker that I cannot remember the name of, but it's so true. Yeah. Motivation will never be there when you need it. It's kind of an oxymoron. If you need motivation, you're not going to have it. So it really is just a very simple matter of deciding you want something, whether it's to change something about your life or to accomplish something or a goal or a dream. It's simply a matter of deciding you want to do something and taking steps towards it, regardless of how in the mood for it you are, because you know it's taking you in the right direction. So it may be the case that just like being fit or going to the gym really just isn't that important to you. And, you have to realize that. But if you know deep down it is important to you, you just can't find the motivation to do it, then you got less thinking to do and more doing to do. And the second you realize that it's, another thing you hear is, I'll wait until I do this, or I can't do that because I should do this. Is you will never be ready. Yeah, I'm not ready. A lot of people say like I will wait till I'm ready. You will never be. In fact, I told a friend this last night in a conversation. You will never be ready to do the things you want to do in life. You'll never be ready. So you just have to do them. And the second you change your mentality to that, that's when you realize like the motivation isn't the thing that gets you to start. The motivation comes from you when you realize you're able to keep going even when you don't want to sometimes. So that's my advice is think about if it's important to you. If you feel like you need help, you can hire a coach, a personal trainer. You can, join a gym membership. You can go to classes. You can find a source of exercise that's maybe a little bit more activity-based or fun. But you got to treat it like a problem that you got to solve and figure out a solution for it and not attach emotion and motivation to it. You just have to decide if it's important to you and you just need to do it. That's
All right.
it.
That's very good advice, to be fair. Okay, right. Before I go on to the final question, I just want to ask, do you have any projects in the works? What are the plans for
Yes.
just the future?
Yes. Lots of projects in the works. But none of them are ready yet. But I know after I just said, like, you'll never be ready. I guess that's a bad word. I'm working on them currently. It's not that they're not. It's like they're physically not ready because I'm working on them. They're not ready to be published. But yeah, I have lots of projects going on. I just opened up a couple more. I guess the only thing I really feel like plugging right now is I do have a couple slots open for my coaching program. I currently have 3 clients. One of them is a Twitch streamer who I've been working with on fitness related stuff. So if anybody is interested in fitness training, you can come either check out my Instagram or wherever else you want to find me. I think on kugothemighty.store, my website, you can find more information too. As far as other projects, I mean, like I said, still I got a lot of YouTube stuff in the works. And I'm excited to do all of those things. You can go check out the D&D channel, the Mighty Dungeon, my main channel, Kugo The Mighty, for more stuff coming up soon. And then, I mean, if you follow me on social media, you'll know about everything I'll be doing in the future. So I guess the last and only thing is just subscribe for more from MXZ. That's it. For more awesome interviews.
All right. And lastly, just a quick one. It's what I always end on, what I ask everybody. What does success mean to you?
Ooh, success? Success is the act of accepting your own accomplishments.
All right. Thank you for coming on the podcast.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me on, man. Appreciate it.